Hello, everybody. This is Keeping It Real with Dr. Lil. I'm glad to be here today. I know you guys are all excited about what's been going on out there. I want to thank again all those who have been supporting us in our journey with this legal aspects. And yes, there's stuff that we had to file regarding the last thing was a temporary restraining order regarding a litigation that the defendant started in New Jersey in August after we filed something in May in the federal court. So the reason why we were in California in the first place is because we were told by the courts and the defendant that the jurisdiction wasn't there and so forth and so on in New Jersey regarding getting our damages as related to our action. There was never nothing frivolous, everybody. We can say something 100,000 times, that doesn't make it true. There is no gag order in New Jersey, never was. If there was, why have they not put that forth? Because it doesn't exist. There's none in the transcripts that talked about it, none of it. So we're dealing with a family issue. The family issue, the only thing we were told to do way back yonder by the judge then, that if we needed to do something with the files or share the files, that we had to redact the minor's name. We also did other peer persons in the case if they wanted their case and their name redacted because they didn't want anybody to know. Well, that's an option. It's not mandatory, everybody. It's not a law. Nonetheless, because the situation never materialized into a real paternity action, it got stopped. All those things are irrelevant. They're irrelevant. So the whole reason why I came on here today is to let you know, yes, we have the preliminary injunction or the temporary restraining order, and that's basically so that we can continue to litigate our federal case, which has precedence over a state case, and have no interruptions or problems. There's no reason to be in New Jersey asking for anything. Nothing has occurred. Even if it did, there's a process. And there's nothing that occurred because there's no standing there with no parties, the defendant. There's no authority there. There's nothing. So it's not clear why people went back there, but I guess I do know why. But we're not going to play those games. So we're asking the court in California to make sure that we have our proper constitutional rights to litigate the case at the federal level as we started to for damages. Not looking for a do-over, not looking for the judge to look at anything that happened in New Jersey regarding the fraud per se, except for a tort claim. That's it. There will be no different order than what we have. The order we have now says no jurisdiction, personal or subject, over the defendant in the state of New Jersey. The defendant also said he had no jurisdiction as well, which is why we went to California where his jurisdiction is. Okay? So there's no gag order in New Jersey. And somebody can say it 100 times. It doesn't change the fact there's no gag order in New Jersey. There's no gag order and there's no restriction. Any restriction with the files are all related to the public. The files that you and I have, anyway, my files, your files, whoever files you are our own. We're the only. I'm my own stakeholder. I own my files. Nobody can tell me what to do with my files, right? So at the end of the day, if I was to use something that is considered to be with the child's name, the minor, I have to redact it or should redact it to protect the child. It's not mandatory, and all the files don't belong to New Jersey. Again, those files that we have in New Jersey have been intertwined and connected with Philadelphia since 2012. And the way they got there was because the defendant attorney, she put them in the Philadelphia case as well as my it was actually her husband, but it was both of them both worked on the case, Philadelphia, and they both put the files in Philadelphia. So the transcripts, the orders, and other things are intertwined with Philadelphia. We have associate parties, for quite a few of them. You didn't know it. You didn't know about them, apparently. They're associate parties to this case that are not on as a legal party, but they're associated with the case because their name's been used and so forth and so on. They filed things on their own actions. There's other district court cases out there that have all the transcripts, not all, but a lot of the transcripts and information because they were trying to pursue what they wanted to pursue. So to think that the files are not out there is not just stupid, it's ludicrous. We already knew the files were out there, and the court knew the files were out there. I gave a timeline, 2012. Both attorneys from Pennsylvania and New Jersey exchanged the files. So the files went into the Pennsylvania family court case, which is very much open. This started with Ramir's mother. And then 2013, the court took some files, the same files, and gave them to a college student who asked for them because one of the dockets we didn't have filed, it was unfiled or not filed, I should say. And those files, before they destroyed them, a student took them. And then fast forward to the many other years in between, different parties did different actions. In 2018, there were two actions, one in district court in, I think, Pennsylvania somewhere. Somebody did a case. They had all the files because Wanda had to serve other people because of the fact that they were parties of interest, so they could know what was being said about them in court documents. And then you have in 2018, there was a legal malpractice case where the attorney who was going to be in trouble, so to speak, he placed all the files that were considered to be fraudulent related or fraudulent allegations. He put them in his discovery and placed them into the Philadelphia case. So you had like multiple places where the files were the same files concerning the allegations of fraud. And when I say files, I mean transcripts, orders, transcripts, and orders, because that's pretty much what it is. But at the end of the day, this case has not been about paternity for a long time. It has been about fraud and fraud upon the court. And that's what we're pursuing in terms of damages in the state of California, where the defendant lives. If the defendant has tried to go back to another state because they have an invested interest there or they have friends there or whatever's there, I don't know, to open up something or modify a court order that don't exist because nothing was never done in terms of paternity, then we're wasting government's time and resources. And we as a community need to talk about this. We need to talk about this. We need to look at this. We need to evaluate this. There's no way we need to be trying to do something or make something that happened and it didn't. Regarding sanctions, sanctions for what? Because I suppose we had a direct or indirect for files that you knew were already out there, files that have no bearing on me at all. And you're putting out court orders that you think, but you have no transcripts or proof at all. And you're not trying to discover the truth just because they got away with it before with the fraud and corruption, which they did, but not totally. You're not going to get away with it again because now there are other entities a part of it and they know why. In some cases, it was done in part because of the mother and how all of this kind of married in and mushed to Diddy, a 13-year-old that they talked about with him and some other ages, and my goddaughter 16 who was underage. So this is allegations. The allegations, these are facts that she said, and she said what she said in the affidavit. So we do understand why it went the way it went and why it is the way it is. But I want you to know that we are here to protect democracy. We are here to continue to uplift the rule of law. And the rule of law is good. And there is reports out there. I saw a couple that said what they said about the injunction and the temporary restraining order. The temporary restraining order is not involving someone following us and shooting the car up. You can't get it for that. In most cases, they want to see blood first, y'all. The temporary restraining order is to stop someone's ability for blocking another person's ability to litigate a case in their hometown. Their hometown is California. That's where we are for damages. You're back here in New Jersey. There is nothing there. There is no there. No paternity, no standing, no support order at all. Because paternity was never established. So how can you have a support order? So I just wanted you guys to hear from me first. I know there's a lot that's going on. I did see a couple videos and I did see some articles. And basically the articles gave the history of the case. They gave what happened last, that Ramir had dropped his case and some of the other things. And he had some things that were going on with the case, but more or less the case was a inheritance case. It's not a family court case. And you can't mix the two. Sorry. And you can't. Sorry. So he has an inheritance case, and the inheritance case is not in the family court. So he would have no reason to be in the family court. So you can't make that be another kind of case. It's just not. And I had two types of case. I had a family court case and a civil law case. The civil law case had different parties on it. It had an attorney on there, and it had the defendant. The defendant, did y'all know? And it had me. And then there's a family court case. That civil law case came out of that, and that case also has not been active and used and blah, blah, blah. So there's nothing going on. And at the end of the day, we are going to follow the truth, and the truth is going to lead us to where it's going to lead us to. The truth will always set you free. And all the restitution and anything that is due to us based on the legal abuse, the fraud abuse, the allegations that we have will be restored. Read my lips. And I want to speak out against some people, attorneys and men who have been coming for Black women, such as Nicki Minaj. We understand what's going on. And I love my white friends. I love them. All of them. I got a lot of good friends, all different phrases. But I know, and they know, that if I looked more like them, that this wouldn't be happening. So I want to send a word out to some good Black men, because I know you're out there. We need you to come and protect us. We need you to come and stand up against bullies and people who are coming for us in a way that is unlawful, unethical, and downright low down and dirty. So I'm calling you out to come and help us and help ourselves. We do still have the GoFundMe. We still do need to have legal help. We do have legal help behind the scene. We're not doing this by ourselves, everybody. There's people watching and doing. And the reason why they're doing it this way is because they said that it's better for them in the long run to be able to work behind the scenes, because they come out, then there's more chaos. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So at any rate, Tony Bugsby went through a lot of stuff as well. But I want you all to understand and know that we're fine, we're good. Ramir and I,